Hello everybody, welcome to the episode 2 of the Chess with Beginner series. You are here with Karan Parekh from Chess Craze. So, in the episode 1, we had seen about the chess pieces, the names of the chess pieces, the chess board and many other things. In this episode, we will see that how does the chess pieces move, how to place the chess pieces by both whites and blacks perspective on the chessboard, and also some of the abilities of the chess pieces. So, if you haven't seen the previous video of the episode 1, then the link is in the description box, and also you can directly go to that video by clicking on this I button right above here. Also, if you like all my contents, then please subscribe my channel and support me by pressing on the like buttons in my video and also commenting on my videos. Also, don't forget to press on the bell icon so that you can get notification of all such interesting videos. So, without wasting any further time, let's get started. So, let's begin the episode 2 of the Chess with Beginner series. Firstly, let's see how the pieces move. Let's take the pawn first. This pawn here can only advance in a straight path, or it can only advance in vertically. It can't go diagonally like this, or it can't go horizontally like this. It has to go one by one vertically or on a straight path. Also, we have an option to go 2 squares ahead or to go 1 squares ahead. But this is only implied on the first move. So now I have the first move. Then I played 2 squares ahead, just like this. Then now I can't go 2 squares, I have to go only 1 square. So this is the rule in a chess game. Also, like one pawn is on h2. Then if it goes to h4 just like this, 2 squares, then now the d2 square, d2 pawn, it can also go 2 squares. But it can't go further 2 squares like this. It have to go advance 1 squares. So this rule of going 2 squares in the beginning is separate for all the pawns. Like if one pawn goes 2 squares, it is not like that the second pawn can't go. It can also go, but it can go in the first move 2 squares, but not after that. After that, it can only go 1 square. So this was the movement of the pawn. Now let's say about the knight. Here we have one knight on e3. Now what is the movement of a knight? A knight goes in an L shape. Like from here, it can go to d1. Like an L. You can see a reversed L is being made here. Like this, it can go like this. It can be any type of L, but it should be one L. Or we can also call it as an 2.5 squares. Like it covers 1 square here, 1 square here, and a half square here. So it becomes 2.5 squares. So now let's say we have this knight. There are 8 squares where the knight can go. It can go like this, 2.5 squares, 1, 2.5. It can go here, here, like this. And it can go 8 squares. So it is preferable to put the knight in the center, because in the center only the knight gets 8 squares. Like say now one knight we have, like say we have this knight on d2. So from here you can see that it can only go 1, 2, not like this, 2, 3 and 4 squares. So a knight in the corner or at the edge has only less space. But a knight in the center, just like this, you can see this, has more space. So it is advisable to put the knight in the center in the games. Now let's see how does the bishop move in the game. Let's take this bishop. This bishop is called a light squared bishop, as it is on a light square. And we have one more bishop in the game, that is a dark square bishop. This is a dark square bishop because it is on a dark square, that's a black square. So now how does a bishop move? A bishop moves diagonally. Like say this bishop can move diagonally like this. or it can move like this. It can move all four sides like this diagonally, but it has to remain in that color in which it is. Like now it is on the white square or the light squared color. So it can only go diagonally on the light path like this. It can't jump like this diagonally, and this is not a diagonal also. This goes same with the dark square bishop. It can go diagonally on its same color. It can't go to another color diagonally. So this was the movement of the bishop. Now let's see the movement of the rook. The rook, which has a worth of 5, can go horizontally as well as it can go vertically like this. So from here it can go like this horizontally or like this vertically, but it can't go diagonally as that of the bishop, or it can't also go as an L shape like the knight. It can go horizontally or vertically like this. We can go with the rook, horizontal or vertical. Now let's take the queen. The queen with the highest value of 9 can take all the squares, like it can become a bishop, it can go diagonally, it can become a rook, it can go horizontally like this, but it can't become a knight. It can't go like an L shape just like this. It can't come like this here. So let's take an example. It can go diagonally like a bishop like here. It can come here diagonally, but it can't come here because this is like a knight and queen can't act as a knight. So it can go n number of steps. Like from here it can go diagonally this many steps. From here it can cover 8 steps horizontally. But there is no square limit for the queen. But it can only not become like a knight. It can become like any other pieces. Now let's see about the king. The king, which is the most valuable piece of the chess game, is called as a very boring piece because it can only move one square in any direction. Like say it can come here, 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 in all direction it can go, but it can only cover one square. So it is also called as a boring piece in a chess game, but it is an important piece because if it gets checkmated then the game is over. Now let's see how to arrange these pieces in a chessboard, and I hope that you have learnt now that how the pieces move. Now let's place the pawns of the white pieces. We have all the pawns on the second rank just like this. We have the pawns on A2, B2, C2 and that too till H2. Now the rook with a worth of 5, it is placed on the corners on A1 square and on H1 square. The knights which are beside the rooks at the B1 and G1 square, and the bishop that are beside the knights on the C1 square and on the F1 square. Now we remain with two important squares. We have the central squares, the D1 square and E1 square, and we have two pieces which are our king and our queen. So now first we'll place our queen. So to place our queen, there are many people which get confused where to put our queen and where to put our king. So I have a simple technique. If you are the white side, then your queen would be on the white square. So here in this situation our queen is the white queen. So we'll place our queen on the white square right here. And our king will be on the vacant square which is on the E1 square right here. So with this we have successfully settled all the white pieces. So this is same with the black side. Let's flip the board here and let's arrange the pieces of the black side. So I guess you would now know how to arrange the pieces of the black side. It is very easy. It is the same, or it is also the mirror image of the white side. Let's set up the pawns. They are on the 7th rank because this is black side. This is the 7th rank. On the H7, G7, F7 till the A7 square. The rooks as usual on the corners H7, H8 and on the A8 square. The knights beside them and the bishop besides the knight. on the f8 and c8 square. Back we are with the king and the queen and the two important squares that are the e8 and d8 squares. So now we'll question ourselves. We are black side, so our queen should be on the black square. So we'll place our queen on d8 and we remain with the king that will go on the vacant square, that is on e8. So with this we have successfully arranged the whole chessboard. So now let's move on to the abilities of some of the pieces which are crucial to play a game of chess. So there are three main abilities in a chess game. There are two main abilities of the pawn and one of the king. Let's see the ability of the king first. Let's flip the board and let's see a game. So let's play the starting moves of this game. Let's see, this was the starting move. So now we reach to this position. In this, I have told you that the king can only move one square in all directions. So in this case, it can move here, these all squares, right? And here, three squares are occupied here. So that squares are not counted because the king can only go in the vacant squares. So from here, we see the king's ability. When the bishop and the knight are not on these squares, on these both squares, on the king side. So where the king is placed, that side is the king side. So this side is the king side, and the other side from here it is the queen side. So when the bishop and the knight are not there in the king side, then the king can perform an ability. It can go two squares and castle. So in this ability, the king jumps to g1 and the rook jumps to f1. So this was the ability. Only in one move this swap can take place. This swap is called castling. This is the main ability of the king. Also in games, many people do the blunder of touching the rook first. Then they can't castle because the castling is the ability of the king. So first we have to bring the king this side, then take the rook and place it this side. So this was the ability of the king. It can also take place in the queen side. Let's see how does it take place in the king queen side. So now in this game we'll see that the king castles queen side. So let me do the following moves of the starting moves of the game. This was the game played. Let's see this was the moves. And after this, the king, the black king, castles on the king side like this. And now we play queen here. The knight comes here. So now you can see that we want to castle queen side meaning this side. So for that we need to take out our queen which is on d1, the knight and the bishop in these squares, so as the king and the rook are facing each other like this. So when there are no pieces between the king and the rook on the queen side, we can perform the same move. The king can go two steps ahead and the rook swaps it just like this. So this is called castling on the queen side. We call this type of castling queen side castling because this is done on the queen side, not on the king side. This can take place on both the sides. Black can also do this castling and white can also do this castling. But let me tell you one thing about castling. Let's say one move behind, if we had played a bad move such as rook to b1 like this, and opponent will play any other move like this. Now from here we can't castle on the queen side because this is the rule of chess. If once the rook is moved or the king is moved, we cannot castle. Like here the rook is moved on the queen side. So now it is not possible to castle on the queen side. We can only castle on the king side by removing this bishop somewhere out. Also, if in the last move, like let's go two moves behind, like if we play king to e2. So once we move the king, then we can't castle both the sides. So this we have to put in our mind that if you want to castle and place a king inside the pawns and make it safe, then you shouldn't move the king in the starting or the rooks where you want to castle. So now let's look at the pawns, the abilities of the pawns. So now in this position it is white to play. White responds with these moves like this. It rushes its pawns on the other side like this. But you will notice now if the pawn comes ahead one square, then you will think what is the use of the pawn here? Because we know that the pawn can't come backwards and it can't go horizontally. Then what will the pawn do on the last square here? So this is the ability given to the pawn here. If the pawn reaches the last square of the opponent's kingdom or opponent's possession, then it can convert into any other pieces. Like say if it comes here, then it can become a queen like this, or it can become a knight like this. It can also become the bishop, and also it can become the rook. But note, a pawn can't convert into a pawn because it won't be of any use. And also the pawn can't become the king because there are only one kings in the board. So to perform this move, there are certain criteria to perform this move. Let's say our pawn is here. So from here, when we advance our pawn here, in online it directly changes into the queen or into any other squares, pieces. But in real life, in real play, then we have to say pawn to queen. Pawn promotes to queen, and first we have to place the pawn here, then we have to tell pawn promotes to queen, and then we have to place our queen here. Same way goes to the knight and bishop and the rook. Also there is one term called under promotion. Like you would think why would a pawn convert into some other piece because it can convert into the queen. The queen has 9 points, other pieces have 3 and 5 points. Why would it convert into some other pieces? So that I would explain in the next lecture, because for that you would need to know the concept of stalemate. So till then, let's see one more ability of the pawn. So the second ability of the pawn is to go diagonally and capture the pawn. That move is called en passant or en pass in chess terms. Like say it is black to play here in this position, and black responds with a move called c5. So from here we can take this c5 pawn by like this. We go diagonally and take the c5 pawn. Let's go one step behind. So what did we see? That the black pawn just came 2 steps ahead, and then we took that pawn. So this is the move when the black pawn just placed 2 steps, not 1 but 2 steps, and on that move only, on the first move. If like say from here we played this, then now from here we can't take it, because now it is a second move past the pawn came to c5. So from now we can't play and pass. But if we hadn't played the waiting moves such as h3 and h6 the black played, then we can directly capture this pawn like this. So this can be very important to trick your opponent in chess games. So these were some of the abilities of the pawns and the king that can be performed in a chess game, which can help in the development of the pieces and also to win the complete game. So I hope you would have learned a lot in this session of today on this episode 2 of the Chess with Beginners. And if you have learned a lot and you haven't subscribed my channel yet, then click on the button down below and subscribe my channel. Also hit the bell icon so as you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. So till then, stay safe, play chess, goodbye.